Do you know what are 10 most important things that you need to bring for your summer trip in Iceland? Well, let me actually just get straight into the video and let me start with probably the most important thing, and that is actually something that I see so many people fail to do, and that is bringing the right clothes. One thing that you actually need to realize is that even if you are coming to Iceland in July or August, which is the middle of the summer, you should still pack clothes suitable for like a very cold autumn day. Of course, you could be lucky and experience beautiful sunny weather and temperatures 15 to 20 degrees every day, but you could also experience a nasty weather and a lot of wind, a lot of rain and very cold temperatures. And so that's why you basically always want to make sure that you will have a clothes with you that will keep you warm and dry. And so for example some merino wool base layer, down jacket and some waterproof jacket. And the same thing for your legs, have some long johns and some hiking pants. And also don't forget things like beanie, gloves and buff or some sort of scarf. And I actually go much deeper into this topic in my other video which I did recently, and I will leave the link to it in the description below. Next thing, which I think is almost as important as having the right clothes, is bringing the right pair of shoes. And that is actually something that I see so many people ignoring completely, because it just seems like most of the people are like, hey, I'm not going to be hiking, I don't really need a pair of hiking shoes, right? But what people don't realize is that you will still need to walk a bit to get to all those places you are visiting. And it isn't always a concrete sidewalk like you can see here on this video, but oftentimes it is just a pure slippery mud path. And so your new pair of white sneakers with basically zero grip will probably not be the best choice here. But of course, if you have enough space in your luggage, then you could just bring like one pair of like lightweight waterproof hiking shoes, and then you could also have another pair of like a casual sneakers or something that you can wear for like evening walks or when you go to the dinner. But if you could only bring one pair of shoes, then it would be, hiking shoes or basically anything that is waterproof and that has a good grip. Alright, now imagine the following scenario. You are checking in into a hotel and your phone is completely out of battery, and suddenly you realize that your charger doesn't fit the local socket. What do? That can be very annoying. Iceland is using a standard European plugs type C and F, and so you just need to make sure that you have some sort of adapter for those. Honestly, most of these places where you'll be staying will have some sort of these adapters lying around, like for example like I do here in my Airbnb, and I always make sure that I have these like couple of those laying around just to make sure that if the guests check in and they don't have those, that they can keep their phones and other devices charged. So definitely make sure that you get some of those and that you have them on your first day, so you don't have to be running around and trying to find a shop where they actually sell it. And one more thing to note is that Iceland uses 230 volts compared to, for example, North America, where the voltage is 120 volts. And so if you are bringing certain devices like hairdryer for example, you need to check that it is rated for 230 volts. Otherwise, you will also need to buy a converter, which will basically ensure that you won't either A, fry your device, or B, start a fire. And of course, I'll be leaving the links to everything that I'm mentioning in this video in the description, and so that's hopefully something that will help you save a bit of time researching. Now, if you are traveling to Iceland in the summer, you need to realize that the sun doesn't really set during those months. And that could be a problem if you are a light sleeper. Of course, a lot of these places where you'll be staying have a good blackout curtains, but still there is usually at least some light coming through, and so bringing a blindfold is in my opinion a very good idea. To be honest with you, I personally don't have one because I don't really mind if it's not like 100% darkness, but what I do if it's like too bright, I usually just use something like my buff, and I just fold it in half and just use that instead. I mean, it is probably not as comfortable, but it basically does the same job. Okay, if there is one thing that I bring basically everywhere, it would be a backpack, and that is for many reasons. First of all, if you are like me, you always carry a bunch of camera equipment around. And so having a place to keep it safe and dry is simply a must. Another reason why you should always have some sort of backpack with you is basically because the weather is very unpredictable. And so having a place where you can stuff some extra clothes can be very useful. And that is even if you think that you will be back in the car in 10 minutes. Because remember, this is Iceland and the weather can be very deceiving. And also, honestly, I mean, it is always just much more comfortable and more practical to be able to stuff everything in your bag rather than trying to, tie it around your waist or carry it in your hands and risking that the weather will blow it away. Now, speaking of wind and bad weather, there will probably be days when you will want to warm yourself up in some of Iceland's lagoons or hot springs. Because this is something that you will definitely want to try, even if it's just once, and so bringing some sort of swimsuit with you is definitely a must. One thing to note is that I've heard from some people that local water can sort of mess up certain fabrics. And I mean, so ladies, maybe don't bring your best pair of swimsuit, but honestly, I've never really had this issue before, I never really noticed it. And another good idea is if you go to the pools or springs, it is good to bring some quick dry towel and then also some quick dry bag so you can stuff everything in there. Alright, so now you'll probably just want to trust me on this one, and that is that you will want to bring a mosquito net. And I know you have probably already heard that there are no mosquitoes in Iceland, and that is absolutely true, thank God, but we have midges. And one thing that mosquitoes and midges have in common is that they are both very annoying insects. They'll get into your eyes, nose, ears, and they just won't leave you alone, and it is the worst, like especially if you are camping or doing some sort of outdoor activity like horseback riding or hiking. You can usually find them near any water source, mainly during July and August. And some places like the area of Lake Mývatn in north of Iceland are notoriously known for the crazy amounts of midges that are there. And I just want to repeat that it is not during the whole summer and it is not everywhere, so it really depends when and where you go, but you cannot really plan for it. But anyway, it is definitely a good idea to bring this with you, especially because it doesn't take up any space and it is much easier to just bring it from home than trying to find it somewhere here in the store. And there is actually something that I learned, and maybe it is just me, but what I noticed is that if you wear it like this, it can be just sometimes very annoying because it is always like really in your face, especially when it's windy. But there seems to be a simple trick for it. That's just if you wear some sort of cap underneath it. That way, it just sort of stays away and it is just much more comfortable to wear. Okay, now this one is my favorite subject that I like to educate everyone who is new to Iceland, and it is actually also something that so many people are super stoked about when they visit Iceland for the first time. And it is also something that I used to take for granted and something that definitely changed after I visited Asia for a couple of months. And it is actually the fact that the best water that you can find in Iceland isn't in the stores, but actually comes directly from the tap. Iceland has some of the best water in the world, and you can basically refill it literally everywhere, in every house, gas station or restaurant. And so that's why you'll basically never want to and never really need to buy a water here in the store. And so bring some reusable water bottle with you and just always keep that with you. And just one tip that I can give you is only use the cold water because the warm one is like a geothermal origin. And it has this like sort of taste and smell to it. I mean, you could probably drink it, but I wouldn't really recommend it. And so, yeah, remember, only use the cold one for drinking. And what you can also do, and what I personally do very often, is to refill it right in the nature. But just try to do it from the streams that aren't very big. And the reason I say that is that, I mean, you never know what's in the big river. There can be a lot of stuff that's washed away from the farm fields, and I mean, there could be some, dead animal decomposing somewhere upstream. So I would only try to use these small streams to refill your water bottles. Now let me ask you this, have you already decided how are you going to capture your trip in Iceland? For most of the people, using their phone will be more than enough, but if you would like your photos and videos to look a bit different than what 90% of people take, you will probably want to think about bringing some camera gear. And this is such a broad topic, and there is so much of different gear that you could bring with you. Like for example, you could bring like a good mirrorless camera like the one that I'm filming on right now, and some zoom lenses and so on. But also like a simple point and shoot camera will do good enough job to capture your adventures sort of in a way that is at least more unique and looks a bit different than just if you would just capture everything on your iPhone. And also, if it's raining or you are going to film some activities, then having some action camera will be definitely a great way to document your experience in a unique way. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you already know that I'm also a big fan of drones. And Icelandic landscape is a paradise for every drone pilot. And so if you are still deciding whether it is worth carrying the extra weight, I say 100% yes it is. Another thing that so many people underestimate is how strong the sun in Iceland can be. I mean, at least when it actually comes out eventually. And so that's another thing that you should definitely bring with you, especially because it doesn't really take any space in your backpack, and I actually find myself wearing them even if it's not sunny, and that is to, protect my eyes against the wind. And trust me, we get a lot of windy days. But the situation when I'm actually the most thankful for the sunglasses is when I'm driving. Especially if you're driving against the midnight sun, sitting low on the horizon, you won't really see anything and your eyes will hurt after a while too. And since we are on the topic of sun, bring some sunscreen with you. Yes, sunscreen. I mean, there's a good chance that you won't use it at all, but when it's like a clear day, it's very sunny, you would be surprised how quickly you can actually get burned here. And I think it has something to do with the position of Iceland and the thickness of the atmosphere or whatever, but anyway, bring that with you, or at least just get it here in the store. It doesn't really cost that much, and it is definitely worth having that just in case. And since you made it all the way to the end of this video, I also have one bonus tip for you. After you land in Iceland and before you leave the airport, if you want to buy beer, wine or any sort of liquor, just make sure to buy it in the duty-free store there, because that way you can save more than 50% of the price. And I mean, trust me, you'll thank me later when you actually see the prices here. And so I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in this video right here with some more tips and travel inspiration from Iceland. Cheers!